Hi, this is my reflections for Module 4. The question is asking, reflect why it's important for a teacher to have a foundational knowledge of media technology, resolution, and compression, and what did you learn from those sections? To tell you the truth, I felt like the resolution and compression was kind of confusing to me. To me, they both deal with pixels, but they were talking about compression, dealing with the size of files and how much, how big do you really need a file to be, and the different types of files. Like a TIFF file is going to have some, it's going to be quite large compared to the JPEG file. And if you're just going to use a JPEG for, say, YouTube or Facebook, then you don't need a TIFF file. And then also that it would be difficult to even like send that in an email if it was a TIFF file. And then resolution was talking about pixels. And pixels are just one little dot of color, and a whole lot of pixels together is going to kind of create a beautiful image. And the more pixels that you have, the more smooth and clear that image is. But the larger that image is, I'm not explaining this very well, but the larger the image is, because the more pixels it is, the larger it's going to, the more room it's going to take, say, in your available data on your computer or your camera or your phone or whatever. And I was talking about both resolution and compression, using appropriate file sizes, because you don't want to use too much room, but the larger files can always be changed into either a smaller file size, or the resolution can be made smaller, but you can't make a smaller or less quality image larger. And that's true also for audio files and video files. And why do I think it's important for us to know this? Well, because as teachers, and we're moving toward future teachers, and living in a society that's moving toward more and more technology, we're going to have to be able to make things work. And if we don't know how they work, we're not going to be able to do that. Also, I feel like the further behind that you get with technology and what's the latest and greatest, the harder it is for you to apply your current knowledge to new technology. So by staying current, it's easier to transition to the next step of technology. Also, I think that as we're learning these things, we're not only using them, but we're also trying to teach our students to use them as well. And if we don't know how, then we can't very well train. And if our students know more than we do, then they aren't likely to listen to us or feel like we're teaching them anything. It says, what did you learn from those sections? I felt like I'm still a little fuzzy on the resolution and compression, but I think I'm getting a little bit of it, hopefully, by that previous explanation. Describe your experience working with Prezi. Did you have any challenges working with it, and what did you like and dislike about the application as compared to using PowerPoint? I really liked Prezi. I've actually seen it before, but I'd never used it. And the first time I tried to use Prezi, I was a little frustrated because it seems like PowerPoint is a little more self-explanatory. You stick in an image, you put in some font, you know, whatever you want, a clip art or image from a file that you have. That seems very easy for me to create a slide. The Prezi was a little bit more difficult to maneuver. Like I had, I had text boxes in Prezi that I didn't want there, and I didn't know how to delete them. I kept trying to right button click and delete it, but that didn't work. So then I was just like, okay, well, I'll just shove this off into space, and then nobody will know it's there. And then I finally figured out that if you just erased all the text, the thing would delete. So it was a little bit more of a challenge for me to work with, but I think it's definitely worth it because I like the way that Prezi is similar to PowerPoint in that you can create sort of a flowing image and text information and you can present that. But it's also like AutoCAD, if you've ever worked with AutoCAD, because you've got infinite space and you can shrink down to a very small area and look at just that, or you can expand out and look at this huge space. And so what was once something that's very large on your screen, you can then back up from it, and now it's just this tiny little dot, and it just kind of allows you to maneuver so much easier than in PowerPoint. You can never do that. You're stuck with this one size. So I think it's really cool. And I liked this assignment. I liked being able to work with Prezi and not have too many bullet points of things I had to be able to do with Prezi. I just had the just do this one little thing, and that was, you know, something I could accomplish, and I liked the way it turned out. Describe your experience working with Screencast-O-Matic or one of the other screen capture applications. Sorry, I have people in the house and they're being loud. Did you have challenges working with it? I used Screencast-O-Matic and it was not easy for me, although I'm probably the worst person to ask because I couldn't even make this camera work, the one I'm using now. It took me a long time to figure it out. And then with Screencast-O-Matic, it took me another good chunk of time to figure it out. I actually had to use it for another class, and I'm not a big video person. I don't like videotaping myself, and it was, I don't know, it was a little tricky, but it was okay. I mean, once I got the hang of it, it was better. But I kept trying to I had to narrate an entire PowerPoint while I was on the screen, and it was like 31 slides, and I couldn't get through 31 slides without making mistakes that I wanted to start over again, until I figured out that I could hit pause in the recording and then just pick up where I left off, and that made it a lot easier. So those were my challenges. What are some different ways that you could see yourself using screen captures as a teacher? Well, I'm glad you asked that because I actually had to do a report about the future of education, specifically special education, but my opinion about special education and the future of special education, as well as just regular education, is that I believe the model for classrooms is beginning already to transition into the next step. I think that our current model for education, where a teacher's at the front of the room delivering a lecture, is becoming obsolete. Teachers don't have the time. Their time is completely occupied with preparing lessons, and then their back is to students as they're trying to explain something, and the students are so, you know, they need, whether they've got a 504 or an IEP, and teachers are run ragged, and I think we're getting to a point now where our technology can take over and really start being a huge help in the classroom by flipping the classroom. And this isn't my idea. This is many awesome people that have come forward, and one being Sal Khan of Khan Academy, and his explanation videos that he puts on YouTube are fantastic. And why would teachers not take advantage of that? Either use Sal's videos or make videos of their own so that students have an explanation for assignments, for learning when they're home, and that's their homework, and then come back to school and actually do schoolwork in the classroom where they have guidance, and if they get stuck, they have somebody to ask. And teachers can see results as students work on their computers. That links into a teacher's computer, and the teacher can see in real time that students are actually really understanding what's being taught. I think that's the future of education, and so screen captures, videos like this, I think this is perfect. I think this is the future of education. And so is technology in general. When we're talking about why is it important for us to keep a foundational knowledge. We're going to need this stuff. I think we're headed to a future of we're already seeing robots coming into our lives. More and more things are automated, and our society is moving from a highly agricultural, very labor heavy society to one in which people are no longer needed to do those types of things. It's becoming very automated, and I think more and more we're going to see how blessed our society is. Because of that, we can move on to the next things. No sense in sticking with this model and just reinventing the wheel every time. Let's move on and get some better things in our lives. And that's my opinion. So really enjoyed the lesson, and ready for the next chapter.